Josh Ramsey had a secret.
I mean, how does a kid in grade 11 even get wrapped up in heroin?
There's a lot of stuff like that that's way more available than people think it is.
He hid his addiction from everyone, including his bandmates.
Josh would sort of periodically disappear for like months on end, and everybody, like at the time I was like, I didn't really know much about it.
When his addiction began to affect his health, people started to notice.
I think it became pretty obvious to everyone that I had some sort of problem when, like, between grade 11 and grade 12, in that summer in between, I lost like 75 pounds.
Failed interventions forced his family to give him a final ultimatum: go to rehab or get out of the house.
I just planned on going to this treatment center to like get everyone off my back, and then I was going to come back out and go right back to drugs again and stuff, and that was my plan. And then I guess once I'd been in the treatment center for about a month, and it actually had drugs out of my system for that long, I suppose my perspective on it just kind of changed. Really, playing music and stuff was so important to me that I realized I finally sort of accepted when I was in treatment that I wouldn't be able to do both, and that I had to pick one that was more important. And it seemed stupid to pick dying and drugs over, you know, playing arts.
For Josh, the path to sobriety was a hard one.
Coming off that is terrible. I couldn't walk for like a week. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. It's terrible. And it's not romantic like they make it in the movies. There's nothing romantic about addiction like that.
And if kicking drugs wasn't tough enough, a long-standing problem reared its ugly head.
I always had insomnia, but it got a lot worse after that. Like, it was something I always had as a kid, and then once I entered into like recovery and stuff, it got considerably worse.
He dove into his music to help him stay sane, dealing with his pain, frustration, and anxiety the only way he knew how.
I don't think drug addiction is something that anyone should approach to better themselves musically ever. And I was very fortunate to get out of that alive, but it certainly gave me a certain kind of edge that I didn't have before.
With new insight came the need for a new band. Ramsey's fiction was over. Josh and Matt were ready for a fresh start.
Our drummer, we found him in an ad in a local newspaper.
Talented drummer and funny man Ian Castleman placed an ad in the local paper looking for a new band.
He knew that I was the guy when he heard all my voicemail at that time was an English to Mandarin translation tape saying, "Excuse me, I am lost, please help me," and then he's like, "That's the guy."
And through Ian, they found the last piece of the puzzle. Bassist Mike Ailey.
I was Ian's roommate, and I remember the band was looking for a bass player, so I was going out and helping on auditions. We do interviews, and I'm like, nope, not that guy. No, he's no good. Oh, it's definitely not that guy. And then eventually I was like, maybe I'm the guy.
After Mike got the audition, we didn't actually tell him he was in the band. He was about a half a block away, and I was like, "Mike, do you want to be in the band?" And he turned around and was like, "Yeah!" And I was like, "Okay." And then I just left.
Very official.
So with Mike Ailey on board, they had their band. All they needed was a new name.
I keep telling everybody this. When we chose the band name, the only reason we picked it was because all the other names were taken.
Marianas Trench have consistently dodged all questions about their band's name.
It's like, we kept coming up with really good ones. Like, I remember the day Ian came in and was like, "Dude, we should be called Aerosmith." And I was like, "Yes!" And then we Googled it and it was like, "Oh, that's taken."
Even we're like, maybe we should call it J Retard. And then like that guy, you know, he already exists.
There's another one where you came in with a different CD. I was holding one too, and I was like, "You too?"
Yeah.
And then we were like, "That's
You
a good
too.
name." Yeah.
And then that was taken.
It was either that or we were just gonna be blank. It was just gonna be like you know when you read a script and it says like dramatic pause. We were just gonna be silence.
Truth is not attainable with you boys, is it?
No.
Whether they were representing the deepest part of the ocean or named on a whim, Marianas Trench was born. But they had one distinct quality that set them apart from other pop-punk bands. They could actually sing.
I spoke to you in cautious tone. You answered me with no pretense. And still I feel I said too much. My silence is my self-defense.
The newly formed band began to test out their sound, tirelessly writing songs and recording demo after demo. It was either go hard or go home.
Only this year have I finally cracked the code on how to use a laundry machine. So, I mean, I'm really helpless in the rest of life. So, like, let's hope this thing pays off or else I'm going to be a homeless guy.
They went on a relentless campaign of self-promotion in the hopes of landing a record deal. They caught the attention of Chad Kruger's newly formed label, 604 Records. Jonathan Simkin, co-owner of the label, had taken an interest in the band, and they were the closest they'd ever been to getting a record deal.
I gave Jonathan a demo, and Jonathan liked it, but he said, you know, you got some good ideas, you've got potential, but you're not there yet. And then I would go through like sort of another year of sending him songs every week, and I called to the office all the time to try and get him to see me. And eventually I would just show up at his office and sit there until he would finally agree to have a meeting with me, and that's kind of what it took.
His unrelenting attempts finally paid off.
I, for one, am not going to take it anymore!
And in March 2003, they finally landed a deal with 604 Records. It was official. They were on their way to being rock stars.
We all did a huge jumping high five, and
we traded a lot of high fives that day.
They began working on their first studio album, taking full advantage of the perks that go with working with a big label.
When we got new songs, I'll usually email them to Chad, and then he'll call me back and we'll sing ideas over the phone at each other for a while. It's good to have, like, you know, the guy who's at the top of your label really supporting you and, you know, helping you out and singing new ideas on your voicemail and all that stuff.
They chose to record the album as is, with no computer help.
There's a lot of good musicians out there, and studio people will cut up stuff and, you know, digitalize it all. We try to stay away from that on the record, and that's why it's got kind of a good raw sound to it.
October 3rd, 2006. Fix Me was ready to hit the streets. They released their first single, Say Anything, a song that Josh wrote while his insomnia was at its peak.
However many nights in a row of like not sleeping, I just sat up and I just wrote down all these words that turned out to be that song, and I wasn't really even thinking about it as a song. I was just writing to do something that wasn't sitting in bed being frustrated.
They released a second single, Decided to Break It. However, neither song placed on the Billboard charts.
Where the song didn't do as well on radio, and by as well I mean nothing, because Say Anything barely did anything, and then Decided to Break It really did nothing on the radio.
It was a huge blow to the boys' confidence.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the way it works. It's like people try for years to get a record deal, and then they get one, and they're like, okay, boom, we're going to be huge, right? That's the way it works, and it's not the way it works.
604 Records had faith in the band, and they proposed a third single and video release. But the cash-strapped band had to really weigh in their options.
The whole video was such a risk. There was no money left to do like another expensive video.
It was either fame or famine. The third single, Shake Tramp, was released to the world on April 9th, 2007. But like the saying goes, third time's a charm. Shake Tramp hit the charts hard by locking itself on Canada's top 100 for 15 straight weeks and hitting #1 on the Much Music Countdown.
We got really lucky. Like everyone really responded well to the video, and really that put us on the map. Finally, all the dots connected. But it really took like a couple of years of us like being in a van and eating grilled cheese sandwiches and stuff, and like all four of us sleeping in one hotel room.
Your sandwich had cheese on it?
The buzz surrounding the band was building fast. Fans and industry alike were eager for the next taste of Marianas Trench. But instead of giving in to their hype, they decided to take their time for the second release. It was a risky move in a cutthroat business where fame doesn't wait.